Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Mashonda Shines. Well, welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. I hope you guys have enjoyed the first 2 episodes of this month. And now I am so excited to bring to you this gentleman who I happened to randomly find in my Instagram because I was scrolling one night and I said, oh, this person is cool. Like, they're making fun of themselves. They're taking life very relaxed. They do long distance triathlon and they had this big goal of going sub 10. And I was like, yes, okay. But most of you would think sub 10 isn't big deal. Well, let me correct you. This person is a triathlete, yes, but they're known as the fastest triathlete with disproportionate dwarfism. You heard that correctly. Disproportionate dwarfism, which means, yes, they are a triathlete and are treated just like all of us triathletes, but they have a little bit of different challenges that could make doing triathlon that much more difficult. And I have brought to you the fastest of them all. And I am so excited because if you follow them on social media, you would be like, I want to know them. I want to be their friend. And so today they are our friends, and I get to welcome them to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast. And that's Mr. Zachary Josie. Zachary, welcome to Try Beginner's Luck. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored.
Well, I'm honored to have you. So I want to cut straight to the chase because I did say that you were the fastest triathlete with disproportionate dwarfism, but that was because I asked you how you wanted to be addressed. Because I know that the way I saw you portrayed, because I did some research, and I saw that it said that you were the fastest dwarf. And I was like, is that right? Can I say that? Like, I want to make sure the fastest dwarf on earth. Like, can I say that? Are you disrespected by that? Because I felt some type of way. So, talk to me about that comment, where it stemmed from, and why you prefer being called the fastest triathlete with disproportionate dwarfism.
So, a few years ago, I'd probably say like 8 or 9 years ago, I was doing a half marathon, and I finished it pretty quick. I think I was fourth in my age group and in the top 10 overall. And as I was finishing, someone yelled that phrase, fastest dwarf on earth, but in a very derogatory way to me. And I heard it and I took it in and I said like I'm not gonna get mad. I'm not even gonna correct them because I don't think that they'll care if like I don't think that they thought what they were doing was bad. And so I just said like maybe I'll just embrace this. I'll call myself fastest dwarf on earth, kind of own it myself, and then that way I don't know. I feel more comfortable with that, like owning it and embracing it. And then if I can take the joke myself, then it doesn't hurt me as bad. So I did that I called myself that on social media for a really long time. And then I kind of met some other people with dwarfism and I just I thought that maybe that's not like all of us should be working together. I shouldn't try to alienate myself from them. And so in the most recent years, I've kind of just stayed away from the calling myself that altogether, just try not to alienate anybody. There's not very many people with dwarfism that even do triathlon, and so I think it helps build the community if we kind of are a team instead of saying me coming out and saying, "Well, I'm faster than you guys." So if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes a lot of sense. And I've noticed that you really put humor as a way to as a defense mechanism, essentially. Like if you, at least that's what I picked up by scrolling on your social media. And I get it, right? Like, so you took what this person was saying in terms of a derogatory statement and wanting to turn it into a positive that you could make positive, and then you realize, wait a minute, I don't want to alienate, my other folks. And you also use humor to do that
Yeah.
as well. And so, how did you become comfortable with using humor as a way to, as a line of defense?
So I mean, it kind of started when I was younger. I've always had this idea that if I can beat people to the joke, then it makes it less embarrassing for me if it's said, and kind of makes it more embarrassing for like, oh, he already said that. Like keep up. He's already made the joke, so you're a little bit behind. And then now I think that people are very like they get uncomfortable around, I guess, people with disabilities, and they don't know how to act. They don't, and I can tell that sometimes people are uncomfortable. They don't know what to say. And so I feel like if I just make the joke and make it more of a comfortable situation, then nobody's uncomfortable. And I know that like I get pushback sometimes saying that it's not my job to make people to make people comfortable. And I get that too. And I agree, but it also like them being uncomfortable makes me uncomfortable, and then everybody's uncomfortable. And it's just like, hey man, just don't be rude, and we'll figure out what to call each other from there.
You're right. And I was about to be like, it's not your job, but then I was like, you know what? It's not. But if both parties are uncomfortable, it's a mess.
Yeah.
And so it's like you try to help people and you wish, and maybe this is a wish for me, that I wish that people would not care so much about the differences and we appreciate what makes us different and be more accepting of what makes us different than the things that we can't control that makes us different. You know what I mean? Like I feel like in my mind I had that said and I said it the way I wanted it to, but I don't think it came out that way. But just appreciating our differences. We don't get to determine how we come or how we show up or how we are created and made. Like that was already predetermined. And so for you to joke about my appearances, it's completely unfair.
Yeah. And that's what I've always felt too. And I can take the joke. I always say that you can make the joke if you want, but it better be funny. And if it's not funny, then it's embarrassing. And and I mean, when it comes down to it, I just want people to call me Zach. But if the subject of dwarfism is relevant to the conversation, then you can say that I'm a person with dwarfism, or 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 we can talk about terms from there. But basically, I just want to be treated like everyone else wants to be treated.
Well, let's go.
So,
Let's do it. So, your sports, you've been an athlete all your life. Let's talk about how you got into the sport of triathlon and why was triathlon so attractive to you when you started back in 2015? Because happy 10-year anniversary, too, by the way, because this is 10 years, 2015 to now. It's been 10 years. So, what made triathlon so, I'll say, sexy to you back in 2015?
um, so yeah, I have a little bit of a background of playing basketball in my younger years. And then just one year I came back to school after the summer break and I didn't grow an inch and it seems like everybody else grew a foot. So team sports kind of at that point was like, this might not be my thing anymore. So kind of stayed active throughout my life. Got into college, started running a little bit and just challenging myself, getting into some 5Ks. I took some spin classes in college as like I got credit for it. So that was pretty fun. And moved home and my parents had this neighbor that did triathlons who I really look up to. I kind of call him my mentor. And he did I question him all the time about triathlons, like, how did you learn to swim? Why are you good at swimming? And like, should I do one? Where should I do one? And questions like that. And I just there was a local, well, kind of local race in Idaho that is pretty famous for a river swim. And since I wasn't much of a swimmer, I thought like, oh, that sounds like a fun challenge. And so I just uh, kind of signed up on a whim and went down to Idaho, did the race, and from there I never looked back. I loved it. I loved every second of it. Even this doggy paddling through the swim and hoping that I made it through. I got out of the water and like I'll do that again. Loved it. So
And so what distance was that? Was that a sprint or an Olympic?
it was an Olympic.
Okay, so your first one was an Olympic and a river swim, which we like river swims around these parts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're good. And then I had this little bad joke, Idaho, not Idaho.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, just my random thoughts. What's
No,
going on?
that's
I was like,
pretty.
so cool. Anyway, takes me back to school. Um, I'm so corny. Ah, but yeah, so okay, you got out to swim and you were like, I'll do that again. But you hadn't even done the bike and the run yet.
Yeah. So um earlier in the week, this is this is something I don't suggest. So I had been training on a mountain bike that my little brother bought from Walmart. That was just I would probably $99. We were able to like put the seat clear down. It was most likely a children's mountain bike,
Mhm.
and I'd been training on that. And then my friend who was kind of mentoring me said like, "Do you think you could borrow a road bike? You'd be a little bit faster if you could get yourself on a road bike." So I borrowed my uncle's road bike that was probably 5 sizes too big, and we mashed the seat down and kind of just tilted it as far as it would go. And yeah, so I hopped out of the water, climbed on that big old bike, and rode the 25-ish miles and loved every second of that as well. I was very uncomfortable. My arms hurt, my legs hurt, my butt hurt. I was not, the bike was in no way built for me, but I loved it. Couldn't, yeah, couldn't get enough of it. And got off the bike, started running, which is what, um, is still my strongest of the three disciplines and started running and just loved pushing myself, loved running with people, chatting with people along the course and finished the race in under 3 hours, which was my goal and knew from there like this is my new sport, this is what I'm going to do. So,
Okay. We gotta go back to the bike
okay.
because you said I don't recommend doing this. And so I want to, for clarity's sakes, do you not recommend trying a new bike on race day?
Yes.
Aha. We
That's
don't
the
recommend that either. That's a good call.
I don't recommend trying a new bike and I don't recommend not I don't recommend riding a bike that's too big, too small, too uncomfortable for you as well. It's a long but 25 miles even is too long to ride uncomfortably. So
1 mile is too
yeah,
long to ride
exactly.
uncomfortably. Real story. Today, I went for a bike ride and I knew better. I knew better. I wore some different bibs and was lazy and didn't put on the appropriate amount of chamois cream.
Oh, yeah, that's
It's the most rookiest of mistakes of mistakes.
Yeah, and I still do it. After 10 years, I still do that.
But you would think we would learn. You would think. When do we learn?
Yeah, it's
It's
I'm
like
probably
so
I'm probably the master of knowing I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, especially while training, and still doing it anyway because I didn't want to take the 30 seconds to.
that could have saved my undercarriage
Oh yeah.
a lot of misery. Okay. I was like, Mashonda, this was, I mean, just dumb. But nonetheless, I'm here and all is well. But that's a real thing. So if you get on a bike, there's a couple of things that if it's too big or too small, that can impact a lot. Numbing of the hands and feet. And sometimes that can cause nerve damage, right?
Yeah.
And so, and not to mention what we were just talking about, the saddle
Yeah.
that protects a lot of things. And so, depending on its positioning, you want to be in the right position. Now, I'm curious to think the reason why you chose to do this road bike was because you wanted to be faster. But what if you probably were faster if you would have just done the mountain bike in which you were accustomed to?
That's probably true. And I to this day I think about that sometimes. It's like, what if I just did the mountain bike? And who knows? I mean, obviously I don't want to go back and try the mountain bike again because I have a bike that fits me, but yeah, it would be interesting. It would be interesting to know, to see in an alternate universe if I would have rode the mountain bike, what the difference would have been.
Or we could try it with like an off road triathlon
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
because you're in a good area for it in Utah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually good. We used to have a really cool exterior race here. I think they got rid of it though, which is crazy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. To be determined if we see Zachary back on a mountain bike doing triathlons once he conquers his goal, um, which is okay. So I don't want to spill the beans on the goal, but Zachary has this big goal of finishing an Ironman in under 10 hours, which we will get to a little bit later. So you were a runner, you had a bike that your brother bought you, and then you traded up for the actual race day. But swimming, were you always a natural swimmer or did you have to learn how to swim? And if so, what were some of the things that you had to do so that you could swim?
So yeah, this is a funny. So the first, I think 3 years of racing, I didn't know how to swim at all, and I only did the river race. So I always just told myself, I don't need to learn how to swim. I'll just float the river and I'll be fine. And then specifically, well, so after like the third time I did that race, I had gotten married and I was driving home with my wife and I was very disappointed. Not because of the swim actually though, but I was very disappointed in how I ran that day. And I told her, I said, I don't know how to do this. I'm not training right. It's not fun anymore. I think I'm gonna quit. And I remember she was driving because I had just raced and she just looked at me and she basically, you're not gonna quit. She goes, what do you think is holding you back? And I said, well, I had a terrible race. I didn't run well. And I said, and I don't even know how to swim. I'm just like floating down a river. So on that 2 hour drive home from that race, my wife not only had me signed up for swimming lessons from a ex-college swimmer locally, she had me signed up for my first 70.3. And so I had gone from quitting to signing up for a 70.3, doubling the distance basically. And she said that like when we get home, we'll start looking for a better bike that suits you a little better and we'll go from there. So because of that third race that I did, and knowing that I was a terrible swimmer, my wife kind of pushed me into like like you're still gonna do this because like I can tell how happy you are while you're doing it. So let's just get you some swim lessons and then we have nothing to worry about anymore.
Shout out to all the women who level up their men. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Let's shout out to the wifey. Okay. But also, she really gassed you up with that 70.3. She was like, you got this. Like, whoa. Like, you go from saying, I'm quitting to literally, that's the definition of what go big or go home is.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, it was the St. George 70.3, which I think according to most people, that's at least the hardest one in North America. So
And you say it so calmly.
so yeah, I signed up for 70.3 St. George. Um I needed a better training plan and I needed to learn how to swim. So
All right, so we're gonna start here because we want to find
okay.
out these details on how you fine tuned. Because for those of you who are listening, Zach just completed a couple of weeks ago in the World Championships that were there. 70 point no North
So that
America
was
Championships at St.
yes.
George a couple of weeks ago. So this is a race that he is very accustomed to, and it started in probably what 2016 when you were
Eight.
2018.
Yeah,
Okay,
so yeah, 2018.
so you did one race a year until 2018. I'm assuming.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. I like that trajectory because that was like me, one race a year, and mine actually were river races too. So one race a year. You sign up for swim lessons. You get this better bike. You get a training plan. Let's talk about how those key elements help change the trajectory of your racing career.
Okay, so I mean, the swimming lessons are obvious. I was scared of lake swimming, and that was what had kind of held me back originally from signing up for anything longer than. So the swimming lessons were perfect. I'd go once a month, and then I'd practice what I learned, come back, and the guy I learned from would his business, they film you swimming, he sends the video to you, and then he marks up kind of like here you're pulling bad or here you're and essentially he just goes over everything, tells you what to work on, and then you come back again. And I did that for a whole year. Even after the first race, I kept going back to him just to kind of fine tune everything. And then I also in the winter leading up to the race, I bought a new bike that was supposed to be the smallest bike on the market, geared towards triathlon. Um, I bought that bike and it fit much better than what I was using. Looking back now, it still didn't fit very well, but I at least could reach the pedals from the saddle. Um, and then I got I looked online to get a better training plan, and I at least had like a not like I didn't get a coach yet. I just kind of asked around. My mentor kind of helped me out, and yeah, and just followed this kind of online free training plan, and that got me to the start line feeling pretty good of Ironman St. George in 2018, and yeah, just kind of getting those things built my confidence so much, knowing that I'm doing it the right way at least now.
We all need those confident boosters, right? That help us to make the small tweaks so that we can do better. So, take us to the first race. You've done all this training, you've gotten the training plan, you've gotten the bike, even though the bike isn't the perfect match yet. You're swimming now where you can actually swim versus float. So it's race day, Ironman St. George. Beautiful. The sun hasn't come up yet. You're in the dark in T1 setting up. What are you feeling like at this point?
Oh, I was, you know, driving there, I was really nervous because it's a two transition. The transitions are in different places in St. George. So they bus you out to the race, and being on the bus, I was nervous, I was scared, like thinking about what if my bike flats, what if I don't make it, what if I can't get through the swim and have to just all these thoughts. And then I get into transition, start setting up, and then my friend kind of sneaks into transition, knowing that I'm very nervous and just sits there while I'm setting my bike up, kind of going over things. He's like, "This is easy. We swam yesterday. You'll be fine." He's like, "You know how to swim." And then he goes, "We rode this." He took me to St. George a month earlier and rode the route with me. He's like, "You've ridden the route. You know the route. It's fine. You can do it. You." And then he goes, "You're a better runner than I am, so you should run fine. Like we've practiced all this stuff. There's no reason." And he just kept repeating that over and over and telling me. And he was checking my bike, making sure everything was pumped up for me and ready to go. And just kind of having him there was very like relaxing and calming. He just kept talking while I was thinking, and it kind of distracted me from what was about to happen. He stood next to me while I was in line waiting to go swim and just distracted me from getting closer and closer to the swim start. And then finally he just, "Oh, you gotta go. You're up." And then I had no choice. I had to get in the water. So that was it's always very comforting knowing that he was there. Like it's one of my besides my wife pushing me into the 70.3 for the first time, that's another memory I have of someone helping me out, getting me to the race and truly like believing in me.
Love that. You're nervous, you're on the bus, but we haven't talked about the swim yet.
No.
This is the first time that you're about to go into this 1.2 mile swim, but you have been filled up with all the confidence in the world at this point. So, what was that first swim like where you're in the lake, where you're not just floating, where you actually have to do some work in order to get back to T1?
I remember it was funny because I remember I got out to the first buoy and swam fine and I saw the kayak and in my head for some reason I thought like, okay, I gotta go to the kayak. I have to go to the kayak. And I sat there, I swam over to the kayak, they stopped and talked, just "You're all right, you can sit here as long as you want." And then I said, "I just needed a quick break." And they said, "Yeah, take as long as you need." And I was probably on that kayak for about 20 seconds. And then after that, I didn't look back. I got back out there. I started swimming. I made the first turn that was about probably 500 yards. And then on that, there's St. George used to be you'd go out, you'd make a turn at about 500 yards, maybe 600, then you'd swim another 1,000 and then come back another five or six to the finish. And in that long stretch that's like 1,000-ish yards, I just caught the groove and started swimming really well, and at least for me, and I got into a rhythm, and from there I was not like all my worries from that point, from that first 600,000 or 6,000 600 yards just kind of went away. No more worries. I was swimming good. I got next to some people that were probably a little better than me that could sight a little better and I could just see them and I swam next to them and all my nerves just went out the door from there.
All right, okay. You're knocking it out the bar.
Yeah.
Well, knocking it out the thing one buoy at a time,
Yes.
following some folks. Were there any challenges that you had to overcome in the swim?
Um, just mostly the challenge of not having very much experience swimming. Um, I mean, I think like a lot of kids do. I took pretty basic swimming lessons growing up, but nothing. I just didn't know how to swim. So I was like not being fully confident in knowing I could swim was the biggest challenge that day. As far as having dwarfism and swimming being a challenge, I think that my arms are really short for my body, my legs are really short, but s- um, I mean, I think we all know that swimming is more technique than it is fitness, and so I don't as far as the three go, swimming's probably the least affected by having dwarfism, but it's the most affected by not like I just it's still my worst of the three disciplines. So
So you just have to really work. You have to put a lot of focus into it so that you can
yeah.
do it. Now, since before we get to the bike with the new bike and all, how many 70.3s have you done to date since 2018?
So I have done I think I've done 15 70.3s total, and then I've done those T100 races twice as well. And which
Oh,
is pretty much a 70.3. So
just a little longer though.
they're a little shorter. The swim's the same, but the bike's only 48-ish miles,
Okay, yeah.
and then the run's like 11-ish miles.
Okay. And then how many full distances?
Two complete.
Two.
Yeah.
All right. We got this new bike. It fits enough.
Yeah.
How was that? Because it's hilly in St. George. And so different
Yes.
terrain, different muscle groups that you're probably using versus the other race in Idaho. So tell me what it was like to have a bike that fit enough.
Yeah, it was like 9 day. I got on the bike and yeah, I can reach the pedal. I mean, I trained on it all through the winter and built strength through the winter and stuff, but getting out on the road and actually doing such a hard course, it was not the challenge I imagined it would be just because I fit. I could reach the pedals without straining myself too much. Um, and I was so excited finishing my first open water swim that wasn't a river swim that I didn't even I wasn't worried anymore on the bike. So I just got out there and in my head I just kept saying, I just finished a swim. I just swam in a lake for 45 minutes and had no problems. And that pretty much that mindset got me through the bike. And just like I got to go up this hill, but I just finished a swim that I didn't think I would ever be able to finish. So like this hill is nothing, and I got to end. I'm at the biggest hill of the day at mile 45 on the bike, and it's nothing because I just finished this swim that I never thought I'd be able to do. So the swim actually got me through. Knowing that I finished that swim got me through the bike, and yeah, it was cool. It was just 3 hours on the bike of just enjoying myself, having a good time, seeing a lot of familiar faces because St. George is just a couple hours away from where I live in Salt Lake City. And it was the funnest bike ride. I still remember that first bike ride almost better than any other one I've ever had. So
What I think I pick out from this particular portion of what we you were just talking about is how the swim confidence of finishing the swim boosted your energy and confidence level on the bike. And it was like, hey, I did the hardest thing. Nothing else is going to stop how I'm feeling right now, which allowed for
exactly.
you to have an amazing bike.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I still kind of get that every time I finish a swim. I was like, I can't believe I am swimming. I learned like 6 years ago how to swim as an adult, and I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm getting into a lake and swimming. So still kind of has that power of, especially when I have like a PR swim or something, I get out and like that's the best swim I've ever had. So like it still
Mhm.
does that to me on the bike.
Okay. And so the run, this is your favorite part. So how was the run for you at this race?
Oh man, that was still so St. George has gone through a few run course changes, and that was still the very hard one. You go clear at like the first 5 miles of that old run was just you could just shot straight up. straight up a hill, basically. But I loved it. I got out there, I started running, um, kind of had some confidence boosting, passing a few people finally. Um, and I got out. It's hot. I think it was like 95, 90, 98 degrees that day, my first race, and I was just enjoying every minute of it, throwing ice on myself at the aid station and just loving it, chatting to whoever would talk to me. And yeah, the run went very well. Basically ran what I'd trained for, so that was exciting as well. And yeah, no problems on the run. And that's still to this day, running's the easiest to kind of get through because I don't have like there's no equipment problems running. There's no basically just as long as the shoes fit, I'm good to go. So
I like that analogy, as long as the shoe fits. So, okay, we did our 70.3. First one. Thank you, wife, for pushing us to the challenge and everyone who got you there to that start line.
yes.
And so, when did you say, okay, I've done the 70.3s because you've done 15 of them, which is a lot, that you were ready to make the next step of going to do a full distance triathlon?
Okay, so that was 2018. Um, and then I signed up for my first one, which was going to be in St. George in 2020. And obviously, we know what happened in 2020. Um, so that race was canceled, and I just kind of held on to that. I had like the voucher that I could re-sign up for that race again, so I kind of held on to that for another year. And mostly because while I was training for it in the off season and in late 2019, I was getting really uncomfortable on the bike, going more than 2.5 to 3 hours. I couldn't sit in the saddle. My shoulders were sore, and I mean, here I am on this bike that I thought was like perfect. This was made for me, and I was in tons of pain starting right about the 2:45 mark. Um, and so I mean, it was kind of probably a little bit of a blessing that that race got canceled. I just the bike didn't fit well, and I don't think I could have sat through a 112-mile bike ride through at that time. So kind of 2020, I trained like everybody else, did a lot of like online racing, just stuff like that. And then 2021 rolled around and I did I signed up for a few 70.3s, still wasn't quite ready to use my get back into St. George full yet. And anyway, so I raced 2021. I think I did 4 races that year and just was feeling the pain on the bike still. And I just kept telling myself, like, there's no way I can do this. I can continue to ride on this bike if I'm going to do a full. Like I'm going to have to figure something else out. This isn't going to work. And so I think it was very early 2021. I started calling bike companies saying like, "Hey, this is the problem. I've seen a bike fitter now. I know what my issue is." Um, Basically, with any bike on the market, I either had to decide if I wanted my reach to be good or if I wanted my feet to hit the pedals. And obviously, to pedal a bike, I had to opt for having my feet hit the pedals. So started reaching out to bike companies all over, just like, hey, this is my problem. Can you make your triathlon bike work for these dimensions? And these are my measurements. Can you make anything work for this? And it was no after no. And you imagine any bike company that comes to mind. I reached out to them. I talked to somebody probably on the phone. I I asked them, can I cut this from the saddle? Can I extend this on the front? Can I and mostly what I got back was like, no, we can't do that to the bike or like we really recommend not cutting anything because that voids the warranties and it's not safe. We don't just I got answers like that over and over. I think that I counted one time I reached out to like 32 or 3 different bike companies with the answer being like, sorry, we can't do that. And so I started looking into having something custom built, um, which would have been the option had I not gone with what I have now. But as I was looking into custom built options for titanium bikes, I somehow came across this article that was about this new bike company in based out of the Netherlands called Koo Cycles, and they were specifically triathlon bikes built to order. And reading the article, I was like, there's no way that this is real. This is too good to be true. This is exactly what I've been looking for the last year and a half. And so like late 2021, I reached out to Koo Cycle. I said, "Hey, here's my situation. I understand you guys are only doing Europe stuff right now. Do you think you could make a bike work for me?" And immediately the CEO of Koo Cycle reached back out to me and, "Zach, we'd love to help you. Send us your measurements. We don't really do stuff in the United States yet. We're not ready to launch there, but your specific situation is interesting to us. So have your bike fitter take your measurements, send them back to us, and we'll see what we can do." And kind of waited about a month or two, and I got another email like, "Hey, we've reached out to our engineer, our head engineer, our bike tech guy, and he thinks we can make it work. Do you want to jump on a call?" So anyway, from there, jumped on a call with Kusai, the CEO, and the guy that designed the bikes. Went over a few things, and by the end of that, I mean, I had to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning to talk to them at a decent time for them to make this thing work. And anyway, they got me on a bike that not only fit my legs, it fits my upper body, my reach is good. And from there, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for a full. So it's kind of a long story from how did you decide to do your first full Ironman, but kind of relevant to the whole situation. So
No, absolutely. Because when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, you've done everything you could to prepare for that 70.3, which would have set you up to have continuous success. Although the bike was like that missing piece to make you have the most comfortable ride. And that's what I was going to talk about is bike fits are very important.
mm,
However, if the bike don't fit, it can't be fit to you.
exactly.
And I've experienced that as well because you want to make things work, especially if you're giving, in my case, you're given a bike, you want to make it work because it's secondhand and it's affordable and it's one less thing you have to worry about to join the sport. But in your case, you thought, hey, I thought I was going to be good because I ordered the smallest bike and I can get it tailored to me. And so even when you see, you said something that was so keen. And we just had a bike fitter on last week, Ramsey. And so tying that all in, I think having your measurements from a bike fitter before you go and shop for a bike, if you're in a position to do that, is probably the most optimal thing that you can do because that's going to put you in the most success for your dynamics. And every little quote unquote millimeter does count. And that's if you're getting a tri bike, and particularly like how you bend over. What does your flexibility look like? Your neck flexibility. Like the weirdest things go into making a perfect bike fit.
Yeah.
So just be mindful of all of that.
Yes, it's true. And that's I mean that I think that's like the very basic first step if you want to at least do stuff that's a little longer. I think you can get by on like a borrowed bike or a purchasing a bike like off of eBay or something. You can get by for the shorter stuff, but if you want to go longer, my at least from my experience, the first step would be get a bike fit and then have options of these certain bikes will fit you and go from there. And it'll actually probably save in the long run, save you a little money as well.
Very much so. Very much
So,
so. Okay. You get your customized bike, you do your first Ironman. And after you do your first Ironman, you still finish in a really cool time frame. Tell us quickly about your first full Ironman because now I want to get into what your goal is about to be.
So my first full Ironman went off pretty well. I had just to make sure things went smoothly, I had a custom wetsuit built for me because kind of like the bike, not as extreme as the bike, but kind of like the bike. I was just in the smallest thing possible,
Mm-hmm.
and I would get a little uncomfortable swimming. So I reached out to a few different wetsuit companies and finally DeBoer wetsuits. They told me like, yeah, we'll take your measurements. We'll have an online meeting with you, have your wife measure you while we watch, and then we'll manufacture a wetsuit for you. So DeBoer wetsuits was has been really cool about that. Um, and it was a perfect fit. Swim was comfortable, didn't have an issue at all. And then the bike was perfect. I had no arm issues, no leg issues, but knowing I have like really wide, short feet, and I didn't really know that my bike shoes were going to be an issue because I mean, bike shoes can be stiff and especially leather ones. So I got halfway through the bike and like, oh, my feet are on fire. I don't, what is happening? And my
Mm-hmm.
left foot just over and over, just like I had to stop at every aid station. Like, what is going on? This hurts. This is, how am I going to run? How am I? And anyway, I stopped at every aid station. I'd put my foot in ice at the aid station and then put the shoe back on and go to the next one. And so even in this first full Ironman, I was figuring out things that were like, okay, I got to make these changes again because I'm getting affected. Like the dwarfism thing was affecting me. My feet are the way they are because of Ellis Van Creveld, the dwarfism I have. And so I started making mental notes like, okay, new shoes the second I get off. And maybe my nutrition's not the best because I'm starting to feel a little bit queasy. Yeah, so anyway, I got off the bike. It was about 2 hours longer than I hoped for because of all the stops. And then I got on the run. I did the first half of the run pretty on how I trained to do it. And then the nutrition thing finally caught up with me. And I basically walked the second half of the run. And I mean, which happens. Nutrition's another very important part of long distance triathlon. And another thing I knew that like, okay, I've got to learn this aspect of racing now because 70.3, you can kind of sneak away with it if it's bad. I mean, not, I still suggest having a good nutrition plan for a 70.3, but you can kind of sneak away, but you will be exposed on a full Ironman if you don't have a good nutrition plan, and I was. So anyway, I ended up finishing in about 14 and a half hours that day, which was 2.5 longer than my goal time, but I learned a lot. I probably learned more from that full Ironman than I have any other race. So that was very helpful.
Okay, that's telling. So your first 14, I mean, your first 140.6 was you finished in 14 and a half hours.
Yeah, probably a little longer, 14, between 14 and a half to 14 hours and 45 minutes, something around there.
And then your next goal for your next one was to finish in under 11.
Yes, that
That
was
was
the next,
extreme. Like, how did you get from 14 and a half to 11 as a
because
goal?
basically I know that I'm capable of these certain things because I like in training, like I'm hitting numbers, I'm doing like, okay, this translates to under 12 hours, this translates to 11 hours. And this is where the training your gut and nutrition comes in. I can do these things in training because I'm doing them separately. But when you get them back to back to back, the nutrition really plays an important role. And so my second Ironman was the same kind of situation. I got out, I took the 2 hours off the bike like I knew I would after I figured out all those situations, got to the run and still have not figured out the nutrition yet. I think I got 10 miles in running about an 8-ish minute mile pace and then completely fell off at about 10 miles and walked walked about 3 and then tried to run and then walked about 3 and then tried to run and still that nutrition thing was really holding me back. So yeah, that's that's the story of my first and only two full distance triathlons so far.
Well, did you hit your goal?
No, I was about another 2 hours off the goal because of all the walking again. So the swim was good, the bike was good, and then the run just did not pan out, which is super frustrating because that's what I pride myself in being the best at is the run.
Again, you have this go big or go home mentality, which I absolutely love. I think that's probably going to be the title, right? Because
Yes, yes.
you have your first full, you finish in 14 and a half, but your second, you have a goal of 11 and you finish in about 13.
13, yeah.
And now you're going from 13 to under 10 at, so Zach is doing his next full 140.6 distance, but it's a challenge Roth, which is in July. And so for, I think the race course time might be 15 hours, period. I think it might be like
Yeah.
15 hours or
It,
something like
the
that.
Challenger Roth,
It's a little different.
it's a little different than Ironman. I think it's 15 or 15 and a half, something. So yeah, you're right. 15 to 16 hours somewhere in Challenger Roth. It's
And so your last to date is 13,
yeah.
but you have been branding yourself on the interwebs for under 10.
Yes.
Tell me, what have you done differently that will get you to that under 10? Because I believe you can do it. Because your mentality is one that, like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to work on these pieces. So, what do you think you've done differently to get to your goal um, in July?
So the good thing about all of these races is I have a really good coach. He's super smart. He's really good at adapting. So like from the first Ironman that I did, that was actually the I threw him a curveball when I started working with him and like, oh, by the way, my first Ironman is in a month, so can you get me ready for that? And he
What is
he
wrong with you, Zach?
yeah. So I waited way too long to get the coach, but nonetheless, so I got a coach. We kind of like he took the stuff from that first Ironman and changed my training a little bit to the second one. And now we have a really good baseline of what I can and can't do. We've for the last like 3 years, we've worked really hard on the nutrition aspect. I've, I mean, I work with Precision Hydration. I've worked with them a lot on like, here's what's happening. What can we do? Like, what am I doing wrong? I've taken their sweat tests in the hopes that like figure out kind of where I'm like losing energy and all that, like how to replace my electrolytes. Anyway, so back up to 2023, I had never finished a half Ironman in less than 5.5 hours, and I made a goal to go under 5 hours that year. That was my big goal for 2023, and I presented it to my coach. I kind of same way, kind of like on the internet, just said like, this is my goal for the year. I think I can do it, and my coach really got me ready. He took it serious. He kind of like made me train at the numbers I would have to hit to reach that goal. And going from that summer, I went from 5 hours and 36 minutes as my fastest half Ironman time to 4 hours and 47 minutes as my fastest half Ironman time. So so yeah, like I said, I have a really good coach now. He's really good at adapting the training to me and to my work schedule, and then he just knows what I have to do. He knows that like for instance this weekend I have a ride, 5 hour ride, and I have to hit my goal race power for that ride for 3 of the hours in kind of in 45-minute intervals. And he just like he'll put the like stay between these and these watts, and that's your goal power for the race. So he's good at figuring that stuff out. He's good at knowing what I can and can't handle, and he's been really good at adjusting the training this time. So so hopefully, and I think the biggest difference in training too is that we've spent a lot of time focusing on being in the saddle for that long and then having super hard runs every other week off the bike. I think in the past, we kind of did like a very traditional long ride, run off the bike for 30 to an hour, and then the next day long run. So we've kind of like this time around, he's done it long ride, long run, long ride again the next day, and then the next week, long ride, traditional long run on Sunday. So we've split it up that way. We've changed that, trying to get me used to longer runs off the bike, but then every other week having the traditional long run as well. So not, it sounds like less running, but it's not less running. It's just split up a little bit different than it used to be.
Well, one, you obliterated your half goal of
Yeah.
doing it in under 5.5 hours and doing it under four, which is why I said before I even knew that, I was like, I believe you can do it because you just have that determination. So we're going to be cheering you on. And shout out to Precision.
Yeah, they're
I think they're an amazing company. They helped sponsor, I had a Try Beginner's Luck, Try Pep Rally, and they gave me enough nutrition for everyone. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And a lot of people have started to use them as a result. And so I, the way they have calls with you and talk you through everything, it was really, really great. And I was just really just impressed with how they operate. And you get your stuff really quickly, like within
yeah,
2 days, and it's really cool. So shout out to them. I really appreciate how they operate. So thank you for saying that that's what you
yes.
use.
And and to add more to that too, they're super they're innovative, like everything they use. I mean, I think the stuff is better, tastes better. It's not as like, I don't know, some of the stuff with all the different flavorings, it gets old and it's precisions is very like easy to get down the whole time. And then on top of that, I think since they've had a representative at almost every race I've done since that my first full Ironman, and it's just so easy, like very personable. They'll talk to you. They'll ask you have everything you need. I've got all this stuff. If you forgot something, like just let me know. We're here for you.
Look at you getting that VIP red carpet
They
treatment.
are, and it sounds like that, but I honestly think they would treat any of their customers like that as well. So
Well, let me tell you a little secret. So I saw someone with a race belt that was really cool because it had like little like pouches. It held water bottles, but it
okay,
also had a little a not little but big pouch to hold the nutrition. I'd never seen a belt like that. And I called after seeing somebody at a race. I think I was at an age group nationals. And I said, "Do you have any more at this belt?" And they were like, "We actually have one more." And they sent it to me. And I get compliments on it all the
yeah,
time. So you're right. But I mean, to have them come to my race would be next level. That's next level, Jack. You
yeah.
know that, right?
Well, it's not that it's more of by luck that I know because the St. George race is always the North American Championship, so they have people there. Or the first year that the PTO did the T100 stuff, Precision was their nutrition sponsor just that first year, and so they were at that race. And
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, so luckily I've lucked out to have them there at the races. Wish they were
Right.
following me around, but
Right. We'll call it beginner's luck,
yeah.
trying beginner's luck. Well, we love it. Thank you so much, Zach. This has been good. And I think I lost track of time because I just really enjoyed hearing you tell your stories and how at each time and each level that you tried, there was a different challenge and you're still figuring it out.
Yes,
And what
yes.
that shares or tells me with that other people, you really never always figure it out. And there's always something to learn and to grow and to keep being developed. And so, for those of you who are out there like, I need to get it right. Okay, you will, but you still just got to keep going and keep trying and making those micro changes until it all works out. So thank you,
And
Zach, for that.
and if I can add something, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I would suggest like any questions you have, ask somebody. The triathlon community and even the companies, like they want to innovate. They want to help. They want to talk. They love what I've learned is that everyone in triathlon, every business, they want to help solve problems. They want to make everybody as fast as possible. And so they will listen to you. They'll believe your problems and they will help you. They'll do whatever they can to help you through it. So I just ask. That's my big thing. Ask for help.
That's it. Just ask for help. Well, we're excited to cheer you on as you do Challenge Roth in July. But before then, we're going to get in some of these rapid fire questions.
All right.
All right. All right. Um, Actually, beyond the running, because I know running is your favorite,
Uh,
what would be a top second for your favorite discipline?
Probably the bike. I've learned to love swimming, but I was once I got a bike that fit, I actually was naturally pretty strong on the bike. My unique body shape is very appropriate for the aero position, so I love the bike.
That's good. This is random, and just because I like the products, am I doing this? What's your favorite precision product?
Probably the caffeine gel, but I love the new what do they call it? It's the new it's the new gel that's more liquidy that fit.
Flow?
Yeah, the flow gel. I
Yeah.
love the flow gel.
Okay. All right.
It-
All right. Favorite race destination?
oh, hands down, St. George. I am so disappointed that that race has been discontinued because it is fantastic. I think I've raced there like 8 times now, so I love that
Mm.
race.
Oh, sorry about that, but yeah, I've heard it's very, very beautiful.
Yes, it's fantastic. Even if now that you won't, no one, some people won't get to race there, I would at least suggest going there sometime just for a weekend. There's a lot to do. It's a great place.
Mhm. Swim with a wetsuit or swim without a wetsuit?
Oh, I'd have to do wetsuit. I still not the strongest swimmer, so anything to help.
And I have a question. So I wanted to ask back then, but I'm this is the non-rapid fire.
Okay.
When getting specialty products customized for you, is it an extra charge for that?
Um, most of the time, yes.
Okay.
Sometimes, sometimes after, I mean, that's through that stuff like that, I've been able to build some relationships and make some friends. And so it's not always by the end of the process, it was more of like, okay, we're not going to charge you the extra charge that we would normally charge for this because we've built such a good relationship through that. But for the most part, yes, it usually is an extra charge.
So I was going to ask because I was going to say you probably go through a new wetsuit every couple of years, and that could just get really expensive. And I was just like, man, anyway, it was just a curious thought. Okay, moving forward, Mashonda. See, could not let it go.
Oh yeah, it's a good question.
Um, what songs, if you listen to songs while you're training, get you pumped up?
Oh man, this is gonna sound really. I was really into 90s and 80s and 90s like punk rock music growing up.
Hmm.
Those are just so fast and loud that that's kind of when I'm training or trying to hit hard intervals. It's mostly just 80s and 90s, really fast, loud punk rock music.
Okay. A favorite artist do you have?
Oh man. Um, Growing up, my favorite artist was a band called Rancid. Um, yeah, and then there's another artist that me and my wife both love. We kind of try to travel to see him at least once a year called the Hold Steady.
Okay.
And they're not so much as fast and loud like punk rock music. They're just more of like a rock band. So
Okay. All right. Beer, wine, water, or soda at the end of a race.
oh, for me, I am my Achilles heel is soda. I love soda. Probably the most unhealthy thing that I do is the amount of soda I drink. So soda for sure.
Dream training partner, alive or historical?
Oh man, that is probably I would love to train a day with either Jan Frodeno or Lionel Sanders. I mean, they're two legends in the sport, but I think Lionel tops him just a little bit because I think it would be we could really get into a who kills over first between the two of us because I like to train myself to death, and from his YouTube, so does he.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And when you're out there on the bike, biking those long distances, do you pee on the bike or get off and take a proper pee break?
Um, I I'm trying to practice peeing on the bike because I do not want to get off in Roth. I want to just keep going. So, but as of now, I get off to pee, but hoping we can we can change that for Roth.
All right. Thank you so much, Zachary, Josie. Thank you so much. This has been so good. We have the
That's
saying on Try Beginner's Luck, whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win. And you've shown that today through so many things. And not just that, but you are the epitome of, look, I'm going to set a big goal and conquer it. So we're excited to see you. And um, be sure to like, share, and follow this. We're on all the major platforms, including YouTube, where this will be played. With that saying, my name is Mashonda Miles, also known as Mashonda Shines, and we are out. Peace. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try beginner's luck, you always win.